Manchester United, Tom, are going to Wembley, and the United Pubcast is here in Sydney, but we're here to bring you a show on this Happy Australia Day. So, Tom, firstly, Happy Australia Day to you. How are you on this fine Australia Day? Happy Australia Day to everyone in the comments. And if you're not from Australia, Happy Australia Day to you anyway.
Well, Manchester United have made a very happy Australia Day for me. And look, I don't know, last time we were at Wembley, when was it? It was probably a failed semi-final, probably at some stage under the Solskjaer Mourinho reign. Like, just so glad to be back there. Ultimately, we do have one more game to go. But the mood Erik ten Hag has sort of given this place at the moment is just, forget Australia Day, forget it's a public holiday. Just having Manchester United back resembling what Manchester United is, that makes me happy. So even after the draw at Crystal Palace, the defeat against Arsenal, could you imagine those days back a couple of years ago when we lose games like that? It would have been on here tearing each other's hair out or what I have left of it. So it would have been an absolute nightmare. But here we are, defeat against Crystal Palace or draw against Palace, defeat against Arsenal. And I'm thinking, hang on, it's not too bad. I'm looking forward to the next game. And that's off the back of what Erik ten Hag is doing. So you ask me if I'm happy? Very happy, mate.
That's the way, Tom. And look, get your comments in because we're going to rip into just about everything. Manchester United won 3-0 today, but if you look online, you would swear we lost. So we're going to get into all of that. Make sure you get your comments in and get involved. I'll come to the patrons in the comments. George, good morning, mate, in Europe. So good afternoon, good morning, whatever you're doing, George. You'd go relatively full strength now against Reading. So that's FA Cup on the weekend and then rotate totally for the second leg. B team won't lose 3-0 at home. Yeah, I mean, that's a good shout. We'll definitely rip into that. George M, good to see you, mate. Hey, lads, good win. 3-0 should be okay to play the B team. We'll see what the B team even looks like. So I might get your opinion on that in a moment, Tom. Adam's saying 2018, I think. I have no idea what you're talking about, mate.
It's last time we're at Wembley, I think. Last time we're at Wembley.
Oh, yeah. FA Cup against Chelsea?
Oh, don't bring it up. Yeah, probably.
The final? I think that has to be the last one. And Jay Eshu, g'day, lads. G'day. Happy Australia Day, Jay. But, Tom, let me start with the 11. Did you expect anything else other than what Ten Hag did? A very full-strength team, it has to be said. Some would have said perhaps expected a bit more rotation. What did you make of Ten Hag's choice?
Oh, I'm very happy. Now, ultimately, there is maybe one or two changes. Obviously, Luke Shaw and Rafael Varane did get a rest, which was good to see. But other than that, it was, as you say, full strength. And I was saying, and a couple of people were saying in the build-up to this in terms of, okay, this is a time to rotate. But I was fully on board with what Erik ten Hag did in some going pretty much full strength. And I think it worked out to a T. And okay, the performance worked out well. We got the goals. We've wrapped up the tie pretty much. So that is all good. But in terms of where this match was won, it was won an hour before kickoff with the standards and expectations that were set by the manager in regards to, he said, no, we're going out to win this game with our full strength team. And to me, that was just such a breath of fresh air. Like, no matter how the result would have gone, I think the expectations and standards he sort of put up on the team and that match, that semi-final was set then. And it just gave me so much confidence. Now, yes, Rafael Varane and Luke Shaw wasn't there, but ultimately the players had to take all the credit in regards to they went out in the game plan, they executed and they delivered. But as I said, tell me if you want me to shut up about Erik ten Hag, but what this guy is doing, he's given me a new lease of life. And
he's given you a new lease of life.
Yes.
That's interesting. Yes. What do you and Erik ten Hag get up to?
No, it's just you can't. You have to look at what he's doing at this club in terms of the feel-good factor. The feel-good factor in terms of losing against Arsenal. Could you imagine losing against Arsenal over the last decade? We would have been banned on Twitter or banned on social media. We lost against Arsenal last minute. I'm thinking, that's not bad. I'm looking forward to the next game now because there's something there. There's something there, and the players have to take responsibility. But ultimately, as I said, an hour before kickoff, when this was full strength, and he said, "No, I'm going to go win this trophy." It was a sight for sore eyes, mate.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I thought I agree 100%. I think it was a good choice. He went strong, and he went strong with the hope that United will get the goals early and ultimately secure the tie. With all due respect, it's absolutely United's tie to lose now, rather than Nottingham Forest's.
The players in that first 5 minutes, they said, "Okay, Ten Hag's gone for it strong," and we lifted in the first 5 minutes. We were brilliant, and obviously got the goal, which ultimately changed the course of the match. So that the players also have to take huge credit as well.
Well, it could have easily backfired. If Manchester United didn't start strong, then all the criticism would be at Ten Hag saying, "Why do you pick such a strong lineup? The players are fatigued, etc." So. Yeah. Hopefully we will see a rotated side against Reading, but we will go into that toward the end of the video. So if you are in here, make sure you hit a like on the video. That helps us massively. It helps the podcast get out to the masses. So if you can do that for us, guys, we'd appreciate it a lot. Tom, on the performance itself, I'll get back to in a moment. Manchester United are going to Wembley. This is a big deal. It hasn't happened in many years, obviously. I think the last time, like Adam was saying, might be 2018. There was a comment here saying, we were at Wembley. It was George. We were at Wembley for a semi-final in 2020 against Chelsea. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, of course.
I've lost track of that COVID football and Solskjaer and FA Cup semi-finals and, yeah. The only semi-finals I really remember, we got there the Europa League, got through to the COVID football, got knocked out in the semis against Sevilla. Then we made it the final season or the following season. There was a Tottenham one in there as well under Jose Mourinho. But it's all been a bit of a blur. It's been so chaotic over the last couple of years.
All right, Manchester United going to Wembley. I don't want to understate this. I think it's a big deal, and I think it shows massive progress. For Ten Hag, I mean, forget it being the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the Champions League, Europa League, the Premier League, whatever. If Ten Hag takes Manchester United to a final and wins the trophy, how big a deal is that, considering it is his first season?
It's everything. And yes, nothing's going to change in our opinion or anyone in the chat, their opinion of Ten Hag. If we lose, if we have an off day and Newcastle win 1-0, it's not going to change our opinion on Erik Ten Hag and the job he's doing. But ultimately, we have sat here over the last decade taught it's about trophies. We have to win trophies. The amount of pressure we put on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, is he the man to win trophies? And I just think that is ultimately what it does come down to. And you talk about, look, anything can happen on a one-off cup final, of course. It's professional sport. But ultimately, if you're a betting man and you weigh up the percentages and the odds, we're big favourites to win this tournament now. And I'm thinking, if that goes against him and it doesn't quite sort of happen, how's the media going to portray him? Are they going to sort of pile on the pressure, which they obviously will? So he needs this in his back pocket. And obviously the fans need it for a lift. You look at Pep Guardiola and how he dominates English football. A lot of that stems from giving the players confidence and going and winning a trophy in February. In terms of he has made this tournament his own over the last couple of years. No one's sort of saying, oh, that's bad manager, it's only the League Cup. No, he's getting trophies under his belt. And that's why I think Erik Ten Hag, it's so beneficial for him to win this. And the players need to sort of start believing they can win things as well.
I think so. The thing that was really interesting post-match against Arsenal, I don't think enough was made of Ten Hag's comments. If you can recall, Tommy, he kind of questioned the players' mentality, and he said they have to be stronger mentally. We need to be able to overcome the tough moments in games. And I like that from the manager. I thought a lot of the fanfare was actually trying to be positive and say, yeah, but look how far we've come. But Ten Hag isn't accepting that. Ten Hag isn't resting on his laurels. He's actually saying, no, we need to do better. And I think that for a manager to do that, particularly considering United's performances in predecessing seasons, I have to admire him. And you really do feel like Manchester United will go places under the Dutchman. Si's comment here. Good evening, lads. Something we can see under Ten Hag is the ability to bounce back after defeat. 100%, Si. And that's the key. He always puts it behind him very quickly and he moves on. And I think if they can win the Carabao Cup, regardless of what you think of the trophy, it absolutely puts us in good stead for the rest of the season.
That comment there and goes into what you were saying there, exactly there, in terms of when we did lose to Arsenal. When I heard Erik Ten Hag come out in the press conference, it was the same thing. I did have a feel-good factor. Yes, the disappointment of losing, but I did believe in this group of players, which we didn't believe in 6 months ago. We hated them. We wanted them all out of the club. But now I do believe in them and the manager to turn things around 3 days later on a big stage like a semi-final.
Let's talk about the players a little bit on the pitch. The performance itself, I'm going to say, was professional. I didn't think United were breathtakingly brilliant, and I thought Nottingham Forest, much like the game in the league, I just thought they didn't really have a lot of fight about them. They could have caught us out with a goal, which was ruled offside, I think, luckily for Manchester United. Tom, on Rashford's goal, I'm going to ask you a tongue-in-cheek question here. Does the goal look more brilliant than what it actually is? I'm looking at the two defenders and I'm just thinking, lads, seriously, someone's got to get this ball here.
Look, it's shocking defender. Ultimately, we're only going to look at it from the Manchester United point of view, and it goes down as a very iconic goal. One of the brilliant goals in terms of picking it up in his own half, sort of cutting in, going past two players, and a neat finish. Even the goalkeeper, if that's David De Gea, we're talking about near post. So the goalkeeper and the two defenders have a lot to answer for. It was absolutely shocking from all three of them. But ultimately, from our point of view, as I said, an iconic goal. I think one that will be replayed, and rightly so, for Marcus Rashford for years to come. Brilliant goal. Obviously, he's not the best goal in his Man United career, but my God, when you sort of run back his top 10 goals when he retires, I'm thinking it'll be in there.
It might do, but do you know what photo I love? I'll see if I have it on my phone, actually. Do you know, it was in the Europa League in Ollie's first season, 1920. Antony Martial put about 3 players on the floor.
Against Partizan Belgrade.
Belgrade. I'm telling you, in 10 years, I'm going to frame that photo and I'm going to say
Juventus.
It was a goal against Juventus in a Champions League final. You bet that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Not a bad one. As I said, a very good goal for Rashford. Very good. I'd say a good performance. It wasn't a brilliant performance by Rashford, but a good performance. Got the job done. He got substituted as well, which was good to give him a bit of a rest. It'll be interesting in his team selection over the next couple of weeks. But ultimately, now Rashford, since the World Cup, and look, we've been very critical of him on this podcast in recent seasons, but ultimately he's got to right, mainly, in my opinion, the most important spot in his head. He's working hard and he's doing the basics right. He's doing what the manager needs, and that's resulted in the last, I think, 10 games since the World Cup, and he scored 10 goals. So long may this continue. And as we've always said, in terms of our questions over Rashford, can he make that next step? Can he be world-class? Can he lead us to titles? That's all a debate for another day. But what he's doing in terms of sort of contributing to the team now, it is all you can ask for. And long may it continue, because all these questions and criticism we do have and concerns, we always have in the back of our mind, besides those, he can be a Manchester United legend. And if he continues this and it results in a trophy or two, there's no doubt he will be a Man United legend. And that's all we want.
Well, Ten Hag came out post-match. He was asked about Rashford's contract situation. And he said, he goes, the chat is confidential, but I think Marcus knows that Manchester United is where he'll play his best football. I think the manager is quietly confident that the Englishman will absolutely stay in Manchester. Sai saying Rashford's goal was Mbappe-esque. I think, Sai, I love the enthusiasm, but I think I'm going to stop just a bit short of that. But I like it. I love the enthusiasm, mate. I really do. George, Forest lost all hope they ever had as soon as Henderson couldn't play. Yeah. I mean, that's a key point. Poor goalkeeper.
It's an important point as well. Any team with that number one goalkeeper, just mentally, that sort of changes things as well. So I think United definitely did the right decision. Apparently, United could have actually sort of allowed that to happen in terms of they could have allowed Henderson to play. So 100% the right decision by Man United.
Yeah, 100% agree there. And that'll teach him for talking smack before he even gets a move on loan, eh? But Tom, look, there was a lot of criticism of some players, and I will get into that. But before I do, it is time for 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1s. Talk to me. Man of the match.
Look, we have 3 different goal scorers in Weghorst, Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford. So 3-0, comfortable victory, all about attacking football, free-flowing football. Here we are going to Wembley. I'm giving it to our centre-back, Lisandro Martinez. I thought it was one of his best games in a United shirt. I thought he was brilliant.
I'm with you. The ball for Bruno, where he tries to cut it across to... Weghorst, the horseman, brilliant ball.
Well, players are going to be disappointed. There's going to be a few players here who are very hard done by not to get points. Because I think Martinez steals them. I think he was absolutely brilliant. I thought it was Christian Eriksen's best game in a while, and here I am saying 2 players who didn't score a goal or didn't get an assist. And we have 3 different goal scorers, so some people are going to be unfairly done by in regards to not getting points. But Lisandro Martinez, for me, I thought he was brilliant. I don't know if Larry's frozen or if I'm frozen. You back, Larry? I'm back. I'm not sure if Larry's back.
Ladies and gentlemen, live TV, Tom. This is what happens when you're live. Anything can happen. We got so excited by the 3-2-1s that we all just dropped off. All right, so what were we saying? 3 points. Lisandro Martinez, I'm with you. 2 points, though. What are you thinking? I heard you complimenting Eriksen just before.
No, I thought it was Eriksen's best performance in a while, and is that enough for maybe points? I'm not sure, but in regards to the football he played and the way we were so controlled, I thought it was a bit sloppy from Casemiro. Casemiro had a fine game. I thought a good solid 6 out of 10, but the standard Casemiro has set, it was poor by his standards, so I think he can sort of escape some points this week. Eriksen, who I thought was very poor against Arsenal, bounced back. I thought he was very good, but ultimately we have 3 different goal scorers. I thought Weghorst led the line very well. I thought Bruno had a poor game. Not poor game, but Bruno I didn't think did a lot. I think he gets an assist and a goal ultimately. Very Bruno-like performance, but Marcus Rashford sort of set the tone quite nicely. So I'll be looking at Martinez than Eriksen, but maybe some people in the live chat or your opinion could sway me.
Eriksen I like that option. I have to give a point to Rashford. I mean, he gets a goal. I thought Bruno was really good.
Yeah, a lot of people saying Bruno. I thought it was maybe Bruno one of his quieter games potentially, but ultimately got a goal and an assist. So maybe I'm wrong in that one.
Yeah,
But
Bruno gets a point at least. Malasia's a shout from George. Ericsson. I think Ericsson deserves points because I don't think if that was Fred and McTominay in midfield, I don't really know how quickly the ball progression happens.
Yeah, as I said, bouncing back, Ericsson, after the disappointing performance and result against Arsenal, I thought to come back and he controlled the game. As I said, nothing against Casemiro. He set the bar so high, but Casemiro was a little bit off the pace, and we definitely relied on Ericsson to be that driving force in midfield. I thought he's brilliant. So only one of the goal scorers will get points, and brilliant goal by Rashford.
Had to choose. I thought Bruno's impact over the full game was probably better than Rashford's. Brilliant goal, but outside of the goal, yeah.
See, I'll disagree with that in regards to just my perception of my sort of remembering the Bruno performance. But people in the chat are saying Bruno, you're saying Bruno, and ultimately an assist and a goal. Fair play to him. So I'll be going, Martinez, Ericsson, Bruno. Then if the chat's happy with that.
All the love to the people in the comments. I love telling Tom. I told him so. But that's the way it goes. Martinez 3, Ericsson 2, Bruno Fernandes 1. Tom, let's talk about some players. Let's get into the gossip. You ready? Antony, you go on Twitter, he's the most criticized player. Now, I have to admit, I went onto Twitter and I said, Pellistri has had more impact in 20 minutes than Antony has had all season. Let me defend myself for a moment. This isn't me saying Antony shouldn't be a Manchester United player. That's not what I said. And it's not in my messaging. I said this player has had a better impact in 20 minutes than Antony has had this season. And I'm going to stand by that comment.
No, well, you can't stand by it because that's wrong. That's simply not the case.
Hold on. Give me a moment. Let me get the words out. He's scored goals. Antony has scored goals. Yes, he has. But Pellistri's overall performance looks better. The team looks good when he's on the pitch. And I think he deserves a chance.
Against Charlton and cruising against Nottingham Forest.
Well, okay. Well, did Antony do anything against those sides?
Well, he's done things against Arsenal, against Everton, against Manchester City, against Tottenham. He's performed at the Premier League, and that's nothing against Pellistri. I think Pellistri has been very good, but to say he's added more of an impact than Antony is just look. I understand maybe a bit of frustration towards Antony, but that statement, deep down, is wrong.
Yeah, maybe.
But Pellistri is doing himself no harm in regards to coming in and maybe jumping above Anthony Elanga in the pecking order. Obviously, Anthony Elanga came on. I think if he wants to get game time,
I could jump over Anthony Elanga in the pecking order. Is that really an achievement these days?
But back to Antony. Forget the execution of goals, like goals change games, everything. Just look at the performance. If we add goals, like you look at a situation if Ericsson puts it off the underside of the bar, Antony gets an assist. Antony came very close with 3 chances in the first half. Those 3 goals go in, nothing to do with his performance, just execution and a little bit of luck. Suddenly he has a hat-trick and an assist, and we're talking about a world-class performance. So you take away the little bits of execution and just look at the performance. I thought he was solid. I thought he was good. Now, ultimately, Erik ten Hag definitely doesn't need, but we as a fan base need more from Antony. We need him to be quicker. We need him to go on the outside. But Erik ten Hag is needing what he's doing. That is why he's constantly being picked. And that is why Erik ten Hag says when Antony plays, we defend better and we win. And I just think we want all these things as fans in terms of we want this unpredictability. We want him to be quick. We want him to burst past players. Ultimately, that's what we want as fans. What does Erik ten Hag need? Antony's giving him what he needs. And that is obviously more beneficial Man United.
Chris here, let Pellistri play for 90 minutes and see how he goes. Man, I think he should start against Reading, absolutely. Give him a season to adapt, says George. Sancho's not playing yet. Van de Beek didn't play at all in his first season. Mkhitaryan, etc. Give Antony a break. All right, let me ask you this question. And I'm not going to get into the off-field stuff, none of that. I just purely on the player. Mason Greenwood, Antony. Both left-footers occupy the right side of the spot. Look at what Greenwood kind of offered the team. Do you think Antony offers anything better than what Greenwood did? Because I actually think if I look at what Greenwood offered last season,
different players. I don't think Greenwood's a wide player. I think Greenwood's obviously been sort of tunneled into being that strike. But ultimately, we're looking at Mason Greenwood. We're having discussions. It's going to be Greenwood and Haaland. So Greenwood is in category. He's a special player. It was a special player in regards to the ability he had. Antony's not that. And I think that they play the game in different ways. I think in terms of the way Erik ten Hag wants people to defend out wide, Antony's obviously far better suited to that. Would Greenwood do that? I'm not sure. But look, I know where you're going with that discussion in regards to, okay, we did have one of those players. What's the difference here? But ultimately, those cards aren't on the table anymore. Erik ten Hag sort of can't deal with those. He needs what's in front of him, and Antony's in front of him. And I think ultimately, you can't escape the baggage with the price tag. Look at Paul Pogba. Every pass he made will going back to world record transfer and everything. The price tag will stick amongst fans and the media. But ultimately, you do have to take it away. And just look, he's a 22-year-old Brazilian coming into a foreign league and playing at the highest level. It's going to take him some time to adapt.
This comment by George is exactly my problem. And this is, I agree 100% with everything George is saying here. Defenders have now caught on to how one-dimensional he is. It's not a criticism of him saying he's not good enough or he can't be good enough. But like you were saying, Tom, yes, he could have had a hat-trick today. But he could have had a hat-trick against the type of opposition. Nottingham Forest, they'll go down for me. They're awful. He's got one trick. He's going to go on the inside on his left foot, and that is it.
But the Manchester City defenders knew that predictability. He still went past them. He still did that. I think he put one in the top corner the other day at Old Trafford. I forget who the performance was against. That defender knew that he was going to cut in on his left foot. I think we overstate this thing because it's a visible frustration we see. We say, he should have done something else. Well, we see it. We don't see a decision made. We see a body movement which is visible to us. But I think in terms of someone on their right foot, half our team has only got a right foot. Do we say they're only predictable? They're only going to pass the ball on their right foot? That's 90% of our players.
I think, look, and it could be my expectation. Maybe you tell me, are my expectations unrealistic? I think a good wide player has the ability to go inside and outside. Look at Bukayo Saka.
He needs to add it to his game, 100. Well, he did go past a player on the right turn. You think, go a little bit more, and obviously he cut back on his left. So it is obviously weakness or something he can develop in his game 100%. But I think in terms of, they're saying it's not saying he's not good enough or anything, but I think they're overstating the impact it's having on the game, because ultimately we had a discussion earlier. You put an overlap in Diogo Dalot, suddenly he doesn't need to go down to the right. He's got the overlapping run. Is Aaron Wan-Bissaka making that option? That's not his game. But I think if you give him another right back, he cuts in on the left. He doesn't need to go to the right because he has a footballer there to play. So I think ultimately in terms of the way Erik ten Hag wants to play, Erik ten Hag has watched him for years and coached him for years at Ajax. And I think he wouldn't spend that money and bring him in if he was too predictable. But I think in terms of when all the moving parts are sort of in place around him, it will look good. I think at the moment while we're playing good and we're playing better, everything is kind of almost, our good football is on the counter. You look at our best performances this season in terms of Manchester City, we didn't park the bus, but our good moments are on the counter. Antony's not a player for that. He is a player in an Erik ten Hag system at Ajax who's going to dominate 80% of the ball. So I think in a couple of years' time, when we do have 60, 70, 80% of the ball each week, and we want those creative plays where there's no space in behind for Antony to burst past players to the byline, when the game's in front, it will suit a player like Antony more. But at the moment, we want that sort of swashbuckling football breaking forward.
You know, it will be absolutely interesting, and that's a really valid point, Tom. I think when we do have possession, maybe he does look better. You know, it'll be very interesting when Sancho comes back in, because I think Sancho and Antony offer you the same thing. They're a similar style of player. Yeah. I think Rashford's the one where he gets in behind. Garnacho can get in behind. Those two ball-to-feet players. So it'll be very interesting to see how Sancho comes in. Does he deploy him on the left? Does he deploy him on the right? I think Rashford's undroppable, so it'll really be a battle for the right-hand side. And maybe that will bring up the best in Antony. Who knows?
My defending of him there, 100%, he needs to improve and will improve. Obviously, a young player. I do see the frustrations and sort of predictability to his game, but I think it is stated over the top. At the moment, all this predictability has come in a very good winning run, and we're winning games and got to a final in a League Cup, so it's not killing the team as people are making out.
Erik ten Hag mentioned Anthony Martial in his pre-match press conference. He said, "We play our best football when Anthony Martial is fit, and it's important that he believes that." What do you think Erik ten Hag is alluding to there? Do you think that there's still a bit of mental fragility in the Frenchman?
I think there's more physical fragility in regards to we just need him on the pitch. That's my main concern now. Erik ten Hag obviously has conversations with him and knows a little bit more about the mental state of him, 100%, but that's not my concern at the moment. My concern is his physical fitness. And when's he going to be available? Because yes, our best football comes with him. There's no doubt about that. I think him and Weghorst look completely different, obviously. They kind of offer the same thing, different type of hold-up play, but it's still kind of hold-up/link-up play. So I think there is quite a similarity there. I thought Weghorst played quite well today and obviously got the goal. Fair play to him. That was great to see, and obviously needed that for his confidence. But in regards to Erik ten Hag's comments about Anthony Martial, I didn't see those comments, but my thoughts on them would just be maybe the way he thinks he's going to get through to people in man management. We've seen him treat players differently in regards to the way he talks about them in the press or sort of deals with them in terms of substitutions and that. Maybe he sees this as a way of getting something out of Martial.
Maybe. Antony Martial, give me a break, please. He needs to be sold. You'll never hear me say that. Sorry. You're on the wrong channel if that's what you want. Maybe when Tom's on. I think you're a fan of Martial as well, aren't you, Tom?
No, I'm a big fan of the player, a very big fan, but you can't hide from the fact in regards to the situation around him. I'm not sure what his contract situation is, but if he is not fit and you have a Harry Kane available who's going to come in and guarantee goals and guarantee fitness, I know people talk about Harry Kane's injury record, but that injury record always results in him being the league's top scorer, so it mustn't be too bad. So I'm thinking if that situation comes in where we invest in a striker, is Antony Martial want to play second fiddle, and then when he gets his chance, he's not available through fitness. So the play at 100% keep, I think, is a benefit to Manchester United. But ultimately, if the club or Erik ten Hag will make a decision, and if it is, I can't rely on him to be fit, the option is to sell him.
Be very, very interesting summer. If United get a top-notch number 9, I could very much see him being sold. And he'll have to be sold. I think he's got, once we hit the summer, I think he'll have a year left.
There's going to be big decisions in the summer. You've got Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, Antony Martial, players like that. There'll be big decisions to be made.
I saw a fake account say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will only take the job at Everton if Scott McTominay and Harry Maguire are signed before he comes in. They got 5 days. What do you reckon?
I don't think that'll get over line. I think, who did they say? It looks like Marcelo
didn't play
Bielsa.
Today. What did you make of that?
Sorry, who didn't play?
Maguire.
Came out just before the match. He was suspended through yellow card, so that's why he didn't play.
Interesting.
Yeah, so when everyone saw that team, he hasn't made the squad. It came out Sunday Luckhurst will tweet 3 yellow cards earlier in the League Cup. He was suspended. So it will be interesting, the Maguire situation now, because a lot of people are saying, okay, we've got two cup games now, Reading lower league opposition, and we're 3-0 up against Nottingham Forest. Let's rotate. I agree with rotating 100%, but you've got to be careful now in regards to, yes, players do need rest, but if you give them 2 or 3 weeks off, they're not going to be sharp when they come back to Premier League football. So I think players against Reading, they'll go maybe quite strong again. Maybe the players who didn't play, maybe Martinez comes out, Varane comes in for Martinez. Maybe Fred comes in for Eriksen sort of thing. So you keep it relatively strong, but it'll be interesting in terms of rotation, especially. We haven't mentioned Victor Lindelof, although he came in and did very well. Obviously, Martinez stood out, obviously, but Lindelof has sort of found himself in a tricky spot as well with Harry Maguire. So he did himself no harm as well, coming in and performing well.
Absolutely. So I'm looking ahead. United, I'll just list off the next 3 games. We got Reading on Sunday morning for us, Nottingham Forest again on next Thursday, and we've got Crystal Palace again next Sunday.
I think we've got Leeds as well. I think when we play Leeds, potentially back-to-back, one Wednesday, one Saturday.
We play Leeds right after Palace, so that'll be on Thursday the 9th.
And then obviously we've got the Barcelona tie coming up as well.
They put the Palace game quite close together, the reverse fixture.
I think the Palace game we just played was a rescheduled fixture. It was through the Queen or something.
Yeah, I recall that. Yeah, you're right. Oh, man, absolute chaos. But there you go. We will verse Palace again in quick succession. But I think we'll leave it there, Tom. Anything you want to add before we pull the curtains?
I'm not sure there was some. I just think in terms of, okay, it's 3-0 we're going through, but in terms of how important was that Bruno Fernandes goal? Because at 2-0, okay, 2-0, we're big favourites going to go through. We're qualified for Wembley, of course. But ultimately, if Nottingham Forest score in the first 10 minutes at Old Trafford, you think, oh, geez, what's happening here? The crowd gets a little bit nervous. So that third goal, obviously we're through, but are we jumping the gun as fans a little bit in regards to thinking this is going to be a complete rotation in the return leg? Like, let's draw up a scenario where we're playing Kobe Mainoo for Facundo Palestri, Brendan Williams at right back, a complete B team, and Nottingham Forest score in the first 10 minutes. I'm just thinking, how do you think Erik ten Hag approaches this with the right respect to Nottingham Forest, but also with rotating the side?
It's really, really interesting.
It's a tough spot. You'd rather it be closer for the manager. It would be more straightforward for him.
Yeah, it would. It's a difficult one. I don't think he'll completely rotate the side. I think if he's going to go a fully rotated side, it's actually this Sunday against Reading. I think if you and I have been calling for it for ages. Like Zidane Iqbal, I don't know who he's pissed off. I'd love to see him get a chance.
Well, Charlie Savage got a loan to Forest Green Rovers, and apparently Forest Green just sacked their manager, so I don't know if that loan is going to go through or not. But he was obviously in pre-season with Zidane Iqbal. Now Zidane Iqbal was maybe potentially Kobe Mainoo was on the bench again today. Maybe he's above him on the pecking order. So it's interesting what's happened there.
Well, he played in the last League Cup game.
Yeah.
So I think Kobe Mainoo, that's a good shot. I think he'll get a start against Reading. I think that's a shout.
I would start him. Yeah. I prefer maybe starting. I'd start him in the League Cup game. I think throw him in there throw him in next to Casemiro or someone, and give him 90 minutes, because ultimately Reading, that's a chance for a trophy. That's an FA Cup game. It's starting at 0-0, and against Nottingham Forest, we've got a 3-0 lead. So I think
you say that. Let me ask you this: United are now in. Look, whether you think we're in a title race or not, irrelevant at the moment. Statistically, we are. Okay, mathematically, we are. You got the Premier League. You got the League Cup, and there's still a game to go till we get to the final, the FA Cup, and the Europa League. United can't fight on all four fronts, not with the squad we have. So Erik ten Hag has to prioritise here. So you say Reading's a chance for a trophy. Yeah. I think the FA Cup, unfortunately, is probably the most dispensable.
Yeah, there is that become kickoff, and ultimately, yes, you do have to prioritise, and you do have to look to the fixtures ahead. Like 100%, you'll find no one who sort of demands more squad rotation than me. But ultimately, Erik ten Hag can't afford to go crashing out at Old Trafford to Reading in the FA Cup. Now, yes, it doesn't change our opinion of him, of course, but in terms of the pressure that would pile on, I don't think this is the game to be sort of crashing out at home, giving yourself that opportunity. I think you do need to go win the game.
You tell me this then. What would do more damage for Erik ten Hag? Crashing out in the fourth round against Reading, or crashing out in the semi-final against City, Liverpool? What would do more damage to this squad? You answer that question.
Yeah, I think you need to take that into consideration. You're looking just the FA Cup there. You need to say, well, what happened in all the other competitions? And we don't know that answer until May. I think a big thing which will change the influence and change maybe some of the decision-making as well, if we do get this trophy against, I say Newcastle, but very likely Newcastle at Wembley, I think that will change and sort of lift a lot of pressure. And maybe then, okay, I've got this trophy. Okay, now maybe fifth round against Middlesbrough in the FA Cup or something, I can rest a few players there. And if I go out, okay, it is what it is. So that is why I think this trophy in the League Cup is so important for Erik ten Hag, just to have some something in his back pocket to fall back on.
George mentioning here, ditch the Europa League. Why do we care about it when we're likely to make top four anyway? The reality is, George,
top four. Look over your shoulder.
That's the problem. I mean, ultimately, it's another way into the Champions League. And how does Erik ten Hag keep his job? And look, I think if he finished sixth, most of us would be backing him anyway. But it's another route into the Champions League, and for that reason, it will be prioritised.
And especially ultimately, we're talking about rotating. Okay, 3-0 against Forest, you can rotate. Reading lower league, you can rotate. You can't rotate against Barcelona. Just the respect of that fixture, you do have to go full strength. Barcelona. If you don't go full strength against Barcelona, they're going to beat us 5-0. You're going to have to treat that game with 100% and go for it, and rightly so.
Absolutely agree. Jay, need to beat Reading, then see what happens with Barca before dropping the FA Cup. Erik ten Hag has some big decisions to make, but me and Tom don't have a difficult decision to make. This is an easy one. We're going to finish the video right here because it is boiling hot and I want to go lie down and have some cold water with some ice. So to all the legends in the comments, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button. It helps us a world a lot. So if you could do that, that'd be great. Tom, speaking of I like you, mate. Thank you for joining us tonight.
No, pleasure as always. What's on the agenda for the weekend? We've also got Sunday morning FA Cup, Sydney time. I'll be at the pub for that one. So I'm just thinking, I don't know. What day's today? It's still that time of year on Thursday night. So
Today's Thursday. You got work
Friday
tomorrow.
Night pint tomorrow.
Let that sink in.
Friday night pint tomorrow, or?
I'll see if I'm feeling pinty, potentially. I could pull out a bourbon. Always have an excuse to pull out a bourbon, mate. You know that.
Well, make sure you subscribe because I do like a Friday night pint. At the moment, I'm on the waters and, disappointing.
Can I ask you this? We've been doing Friday night pint for, I want to say, about 12 months now. You tell me this. Have you ever had a pint during the Friday night pint? Because every time we've done it, I can tell you I've had a glass of red or I've had some bourbon with Coke or whiskey on the rocks. It's never a pint.
I've had a bottle, which doesn't equate to a pint, but I've always, 9 times out of 10, had a beverage, likely a beer. But, I wouldn't actually describe it as a pint, but it sounds good.
All right. I know this isn't the platform for it, but look, we've been going 35 minutes. I'll wrap up in 5 minutes. Can I ask a very important question to the 29 people that are watching right now? To all the legends in the comments, let me ask you a very important question. Why does anyone drink beer when it tastes like absolute shit? Can someone tell me that?
I've just removed Larry from the stream there. We don't need that nonsense in here. Here he is there. Please send all abuse to...
Beer tastes like butt, man. I don't dig it. I really don't.
Please dislike the video if you feel free. Send all abuse to Larry. I don't share those sentiments. I will be fining him 1 week's wages from the podcast account. But that's a disgrace, Larry.
I'm changing the name of the show to United Winecast because all I do is come on here and whine, and I prefer wine over beer.
Well, the wine hasn't been too sort of intense this year in regards to... we go back to Erik Ten Hag. He stopped the wine in amongst the fan base for a large part. Obviously, it's still there a little bit, obviously, but I'm glad there hasn't been as much wine in this year, unless it's in your dining room.
Ten Hag's Dutch, right? So he'll definitely like beer. Oh,
yeah, he's a man's man.
Do you like Heineken?
Heineken actually is the one... I don't mind the taste. It gives me a bit of an upset tummy. Heineken after 2 or 3 things, oh, geez, that hits a little bit wrong. So I do like the taste of Heineken, but it doesn't really agree with me. Probably one of the only beers that doesn't. Yeah, we'd won that. Bit of trivia for you.
Your reaction to Heineken sounds like my reaction to Chinese food. It tastes good, but, you end up spending a couple more hours on the toilet than you'd like. Yeah. But speaking of toilets, I will leave it there. I think it's time that I log off because I am talking a ton nonsense. So to the 28 of you watching, hit that like video, subscribe if you're new. George says CCs. I'm going to open a bag of CC chips. I know you're talking about Canadian Club, but I'm going to open a bag of CCs. And we'll leave it there. Cheers.
CCs or Doritos? CCs or Doritos?
Oh, I tell you what, I'll throw a third option in there. If you've ever been to Aldi, they have El Toro chips. El Toro is like Doritos, but better.
So CC's bottom of the list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Are we in agreement?
Just wondering. I haven't had the El Toro, so maybe you can buy a pack.
Have you tried the CC's or Doritos for you though?
Oh, Doritos. And look, if it's life or death, and someone has a pack of CC's for me, I'll gladly accept it. But given the choice, McTominay or Fred, I'm choosing McTominay, CC or Doritos. I'm going Doritos.
Do you know why Doritos are so addictive? I mean, I know the answer. I'm asking you.
I'm sure there's some preservative additive in there that makes it got some scientific fact that makes it addictive.
MSG.
They're addictive. It's one, the not just little packets. Some chips come in, but they're like almost not family pack, but the pack at Woolworths sort of thing. I don't know how many chips are in there.
Let's keep it Manchester United related. So, all right, what's if we're talking tier of chip packets, what is the best chip packet there is?
There's one that stopped selling
Manchester United, so bear with me.
They stopped selling it at my Woolworths, and I don't know why. Like they sell them in the city at other Woolworths, but my local one, I'm not sure why. I forget what brand it is. It's like a barbecue wood-fired chip. They're a little bit chunky, a little bit thicker, and
I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name.
Might come under the Red Rock brand potentially, maybe, or
it's gonna make me really upset.
Yeah, I was filthy. About a couple of months ago, it was a weekly addition to my pantry, but about a month ago, they stopped serving it or stopped selling it. And I don't know why, because I gave them so much business. Surely it came up on the till every week that it was a good thing to have in the store, but obviously not. So I'm having to go to the city on my way home from work to buy them.
The tier of chip packets, Tom, the correct answer is actually Kettle, brand Kettle.
I think it's one of the brands of Kettle. It's one of the flavors.
All right, so
Kettle or Red Rock,
chili. I'm going to say Kettle chili chips is the GOAT of chip packet. So with that being said, who is Manchester United's Kettle chili chips right now?
Right now, or a club legend?
Ooh, okay. Give me a current player. All right, I'm going to ask you 2 questions then. Current player who is a Kettle chili chip, a packet of Kettle chili chips right now. And then give me a player who is the greatest Kettle chili chip packet that has ever been on a supermarket shelf.
Current players, I think you got to go Casemiro. Maybe you got to shout for. Well, look Marcus Rashford's
And he's
goals.
Brazilian as well, and it's staying on the theme of being spicy. I like that.
Ultimately, I look at Martinez, Casemiro, or Rashford. For me, I'll be going Casemiro, 100%. But ultimately, in regards to the greatest of all time at Manchester United, we've had this debate many a times, and ultimately, there's no right answer. But if I'm having to weigh everything up, there's only one greatest for me. It's Sir Bobby Charlton.
Just won the lot, hasn't he? He's just won the absolute lot. But anyway, I have definitely overstayed my welcome.
Sir Bobby Charlton. That is very prized.
That's beautiful, Tom. I didn't know you
I need
had
a new
that.
frame. I need a proper frame for it.
Adam's saying got to be Rashford at the moment. That's really interesting. I think Casemiro is comfortably our best player.
Define best player.
You know what the thing is, though? I think, all right, here's one. If for Manchester United to achieve anything this season, I think there are a few players, like if Antony got injured at the moment, I think we've got enough to cover it. If McTominay got injured, I just think there are three players that we can't afford to get injured. It's Varane, it's Casemiro, and it's Rashford. I think they're the three where it's like, if one of those go, I think forget top four, forget a trophy, forget the lot. I don't think we can do anything if either of those three go down. I think you can kind of carry your way through with the
look, I agree, but I think Real Madrid fans would be saying the same thing. Chelsea fans, Manchester City fans about their best players. I'm sure that's a discussion.
Manchester City, please. They could lose Haaland, Alvarez, and they'll still manage to put someone up front.
Yeah, but I might not get them to the top of the table. We're looking at a title race now. I've got Arsenal as firm
favourites. They won the league last season without a striker. Who was their striker last season? Bernardo Silva. Yeah, that's fine. He'll play false nine or whatever the hell Pep feels like.
Interesting. You still have you got Arsenal top of your list for the title now, or you still think City can wear them back?
Oh, you know what? I think it's easy to back Arsenal, but they're like us. They're in three competitions, and they do not have the squad to fight. They cannot fight on all front. If they prioritize the league, I think they can get it done. But
they're not just getting a Leicester City vibe about them, like though, the way they're gonna get injuries and they're gonna fall off, and Leicester never did. Arsenal and Nketiah, he's gonna stop scoring goals at some stage. They're gonna fall away, and they're just not falling away. It just has that feel where they're just gonna run away with it.
I think the crucial point will come. They haven't versed City once yet. They have to verse City twice in the league. If they
got them in the FA Cup this week on Friday night, England time.
You know what? I think that's going to have a massive say in what happens, because I think whoever wins that, you already got the mental advantage.
Not only even who wins that, their team selection, whatever the team selections for both managers an hour before kickoff, how they approach that match, that'll tell me a lot. That'll be fascinating.
If you're Arteta, what would you do in that case, though?
I'll throw it. If you're in a position, not throw it, but I'll definitely be resting the stars.
Very interesting. But hey, I feel like we're on the Friday night pint already. Tom, let's leave it there. We can absolutely rip into this tomorrow night. So if you want to tune in for more talk about all things kettle chips, Arsenal, Manchester City, and what Tom and I will be having for dinner tomorrow, tomorrow's Friday night pint is where you want to be. But Tom, have a good night, mate. To all the legends watching, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, you know the jazz, and we'll see you in a bit.
Easy, mate. Have a good one.
Cheers.